Foundation and the Ad Council.
The views and opinions expressed during this program are not necessarily those of Overseas Radio Network, the Expat Broadcasting Group, the staff, management, or broadcast partners. All information provided is for educational purposes only. Before taking action, consult a licensed professional.
The Coast to Coast.
Check 1, 2. Testing.
Now hear me.
You're listening to This Week in Costa Rica.
Once the volume control is set, do not readjust.
On the Overseas Radio Network.
That's why I want you to go on the radio.
This Week in Costa Rica, bringing you the latest information from expats, experts, and people just like you who chose to escape, retire, and live in Costa Rica.
Listen and decide in your own mind what sounds best.
Got a question? A comment?
They have to be dealt with on an altogether different level.
Or just want to talk to an expert on living in Costa Rica?
Brother, what a way to make a living.
Give us a call now.
Hello?
Lines are open and your answers are just one phone call away.
Now, if you have some suggestions to offer, we're willing to listen to you.
Ready?
This Week in Costa Rica with your host,
Who you?
Corey Coates.
And now, folks, it's showtime.
Welcome to This Week in Costa Rica. Coming to you live from the Overseas Radio Broadcast Facility here in lovely sunny Jaco Beach, Costa Rica, on the west coast of this lovely nation, my expatriation destination. I am, of course, Corey, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in today to this program, where we're going to talk everything Costa Rica. This is, of course, a two-way conversation. If you want to interact with us, you certainly can. One of the most popular ways to get a hold of us here is, of course, the email, info@thisweekincostarica.com, or if you prefer a more direct route, Corey@overseasradio.com. You got any questions about anything in Costa Rica? I'm here to help, of course, my co-host as well. I've been living here in this beautiful land that we call Pura Vida, meaning pure life, for 7 years. So between the two of us and the connections that we have, we can help you with pretty much anything, or at least point you in the right direction. You know, one of the most scary things out there is considering expatriation but not knowing who to talk to or where to go or what to do. There's a lot to take in. You know, understanding the country and its culture and its language is one thing. Understanding the real estate market here is another. Understanding banking, security, schools. Man, it just goes on and on and on, depending on who you are and the type of expatriation or relocation that you've got in mind. The good news is that Lyle Head and I have suffered through most of this ahead of time. We've gone and taken all the bumps and bruises for you. You can call us and we can talk about that experience. You can call us at the toll-free number anywhere in Canada or the United States of America at 888-741-7472. You see that number on that player there? It's going to be there all day long. But if you're anything like me, you're old and you're confused easily, you can simply just go to thisweekincostarica.com. That's where you're going to find all of the links to all of the things that matter. My little blog about Costa Rica. I'm going to set up a forum, I think, this week so you guys can interact with each other a bit more. The links over to the Facebook page and the Twitter if you'd like to follow us that way. Pretty much any way you can imagine to get a hold of me. I'm super open. I'm very public. And I'm here to answer your questions. Kind of the point of the show. Don't forget, if you are listening live right now, and you have to step away, not the end of the world. You can get these shows on demand, of course, in archive form. Overseasradio.com. There is the archives page where we have each and every This Week in Costa Rica program there for download anytime, any day, anyway, for free. Moving on today, I've got a couple of things going on here in studio that I'm excited about. I'm going to have my special guest, Mr. Andrew Woodbury, come in and spend an hour with us. Lyle is super busy right now. It's high season here in Costa Rica. That means that all of the tourists, especially in this little town of Jaco that we live in, have been just flooding the hotels and the restaurants and the bars and the beaches. Good time of year if you don't mind a little bit of a crowd. For Lyle, it means that he is super busy as the rental property manager at Daystar Properties. He's got a lot going on, and he's got about 200 rooms under his thumb, and that's a lot of guests with a lot of demand. So he's going to skip out today. It was his daughter's first birthday this weekend as well, so happy birthday to her. I don't know if you guys recall, when she was born, Lyle actually called in from the delivery room to the radio program. That guy's a trooper, so we can give him a day off. I think he's earned that. But filling in as his replacement is Andrew Woodbury. Andrew's another fellow Canadian down here, expatriated to Costa Rica. Not a retiree, not an entrepreneur, but a working Canadian. One of those guys who has found a way to get himself certified to teach English as a second language in a foreign country. Got his certification here in Costa Rica under the Global TESOL College of Costa Rica. Great school. We're going to be talking about those guys a lot going forward. Largely because I'm familiar with who they are, and I've hired in some of the language schools that I managed in the past a lot of their graduates. So Andrew's going to talk about some of the experiences he's had gearing up to moving to Costa Rica, getting certified to teach English, getting hired full-time by a company, and then going through the process of getting the correct work visa and papers in place. If I'm not mistaken, he's been down here doing this for about 2 or 3 years, meaning that if there's anybody in this country that understands what it is to move to Costa Rica and teach English on a full-time basis, make a living at it, have the work permits and everything in place, it's him. He is a success story. Now, not just a teacher, but he's the director of, I believe, the English department of the language school that initially hired him. So having Andrew in is a great opportunity to expose you guys to some of the possibilities that exist. And teaching English as a second language is one of the gateways that a lot of expats use to get themselves into a foreign country. Because you can well imagine, we are not all sitting on a big pile of money. So in these cases, looking at your expat destination and seeing if earning an income legitimately and legally is a possibility, teaching English as a second language is one of those. Getting certified to do it is a relatively easy thing to do. And then having that success, not only in Costa Rica, but anywhere, means that you've opened up a global opportunity. It's a pretty big deal. So Andrew and I are going to speak on that for quite a bit. Second half of this hour, I've got Don Halbert coming in. Don's a really interesting guy, and funny enough, another Canadian. Boy, we're everywhere. Moved down here from Vancouver, has a great history, very, very successful guy, but had that great opportunity that we all dream of, where your business is no longer location-centric. He didn't have to be in Canada anymore. He was going to move to Mexico until he came to Costa Rica and fell in love with the country, with the opportunities here, and is still here all these years later with no intention of leaving. So another one of those guys like me or like Woody or Dan or Lyle, who are just kind of living the dream down here, figured out a way to operate, be financially soluble, and happy and successful. Kind of the point of this show. But again, let's make that a two-way conversation, guys. Don't forget, if you want to call in or send me an email, I greatly appreciate that. We do get to your emails on air, and I do, of course, respond to them when necessary. But at the moment, I got to take a run here into a break. Play a couple commercials. Coming up in the next segment, I got Dan Stevens from the Costa Rican Times. We're going to talk about the new fiscal transparency laws that are coming into play, and this is going to affect you and your money. You're listening to This Week in Costa Rica, only on the Overseas Radio Network.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
Sit back and relax. You are tuned into the Overseas Radio Network.
Looking to invest, live, or retire overseas? Before you pack your bags, you need to log on to NagelLaw.com. It's the only stop you need to make for global business, asset protection, estate planning, overseas residency, and citizenship needs. Our experts have experience working in 41 countries around the world. Starting a business abroad can be overwhelming without expert help. We assist clients with foreign trust, foundations, corporations, LLCs, IBCs, and property acquisition. Need help with IRA assets abroad, capital formation, foreign securities issues, banking, brokerage, or finance needs? NagelLaw.com. We ensure compliance with U.S. tax and regulatory laws. We engineer global structures to help our clients achieve their personal and business objectives. To find out about our introductory personal asset protection plan, visit NagelLaw.com, NagelLaw.com. We represent capital overseas.
Are you ready to enjoy a truly personal banking relationship again? One where a real human being will take your call and knows you by name? Does bank privacy and secrecy mean something to you? Well, these mean something to us at Key International Bank Limited. You and your needs are the most important aspect of the relationship. Key International Bank has been in business since 2003 and serves discerning clients who want high-level private banking and investment services. Traditional services include deposit and savings accounts in 5 different currencies, international debit cards for quick ease to your money, access to a wide variety of investment products and funds unavailable in the United States and Canada, and loans in multiple currencies for properties and homes throughout Latin America. Key International Bank Limited, your private banking solution. Visit our website at www.bankinbelize.com.
You've decided that you want to move overseas for that quality of life experience you always dreamed of. But you don't want to give up the best of back home. We agree. Things like high-speed internet, safe neighborhoods where you can stroll along a shaded sidewalk, a place where you know your neighbors and you have friends close by. These are important. Grand Pacifica Beach and Golf Resort gives you the best comforts of back home paired with the exceptional lifestyle only available south of the border. Imagine strolling along over 3 miles of secluded beach, playing around a golf along the ocean, surfing a world-class break all to yourself, enjoying a fine meal on your balcony and toasting to another spectacular sunset. All this and more can be yours only an hour from Managua. Complete home and lot packages start under $100,000 and a nice home on the golf course is yours for the mid-2s. Come visit for a weekend and enjoy our oceanside golf course. Ride horseback on the beach, meet your future neighbors, and make some new friends. Grand Pacifica may be a place you'd like to call home. For more information, email Mike at mikesgringolife.com. That's Mike at mikesgringolife.com.
You're tuned in to overseasradio.com, the station to help you reach your dream destination.
This Week in Costa Rica is hosted by Canadian entrepreneur Corey Coates. Corey has been living and working as a professional in Costa Rica for over 5 years.
I've been lost in my own place, and I'm getting
He's built a vast network of professional connections to help you with everything from immigration to relocation. Call in or send Corey an email to talk about the steps you need to take in making your dream of living in paradise a reality.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Hanging out on this lovely Monday afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Did you guys set your clocks? I think I overslept today. No big deal. We all adjust. Segment number 2 means I'm going to make my phone call into the greater San Jose area. Talk to one of my good friends, Mr. Dan Stevens from the Costa Rican Times, about what's happening in the Central Valley and out around Costa Rica. Dan, how are we?
I'm good, Corey. I'm actually hoping to plan on visiting, going out to the beach and doing the show live from your studio next weekend.
I was going to say, you were supposed to be here this weekend for a visit. The weather's been spectacular here in Jaco, so I'm looking forward to you making that trip.
I'm sure it'll start raining about the time I go out there. So
we don't get the rain here in Jaco that you guys get in the valley, and I understand the weather's been not the best.
It's been really windy, actually, and a little bit chilly. But you know what? I can't complain, considering like in Alberta and overseas and in Europe, it's freezing cold right now. So I'm enjoying my day in shorts and a T-shirt. So I mean, you can't really complain about it.
Gotcha. You know, there's a great article that I was reading on your site, really about fiscal transparency, and this is a big topic that comes up here on the program and on the Overseas Radio Network in general. Do you want to give me an overview of what's going on and what's changing here in Costa Rica in that regard?
Well, a few years back in 2009, they actually had decided from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development that they were going to require fiscal transparency from every country around the world, be it Belize, Switzerland, Panama, the places where people were having like offshore bank accounts. And, of course, as it goes with both things in Costa Rica, until it's actually required for them to do something, they don't do anything. But it's coming on to a point where they are at a deadline of getting this enacted here in Costa Rica. What they're going to be doing is being able to perform tax audits side by side with businesses down here in Costa Rica, with IRS, et cetera, agents from the States or wherever their home country is. It's also going to open up the ability for officials from other countries to be able to look into your bank records down here in Costa Rica and be able to see what kind of money you've got coming in and out and what property you own and pretty much what your assets are. So if you're going through a divorce in the States and you're trying to hide a little bit of money or cash or property or other assets in Costa Rica or Panama or any other place, it's not going to be able to be done anymore. And the purpose of this was to prevent tax avoidance and evasion. Mm-hmm. But for me, I think it's just a way, I mean, this is my thoughts on it. I just think it's a way for the U.S. to be able to keep tabs on everything and get as much money as possible as the debt they're running continues to increase.
I think you're dead right here because, the U.S. government right now is leaving no stone unturned around the world. They're making it so difficult for Americans to have any of their assets or money offshore. And now it really is. It's becoming, and I'm going to use the word, it's becoming a bit of a witch hunt out there. And Costa Rica is just going to go hand in hand along with it. I'm in full disagreement of this law. I'm kind of in a conundrum. For me, it's I agree that you need to pay your taxes. Yes.
But I also don't agree with the fact that this is being forced, and it's going at all the people that are doing things legitimately, et cetera. Then this is just another pain in the butt for them. And, I mean, you look at large corporations that come down here and they get tax breaks and they save money by outsourcing their operations abroad and helping out the economies when they're located. And, so I don't understand why a small business owner can't get the same treatment if they're looking to set up a business in a foreign country as well.
It's been long known too that Costa Rica has been heading in this direction for a lot of people who are interested in asset protection and foreign bank accounts. I personally have bank accounts throughout Central America, and I know that one of the most open banking systems here in terms of sharing information with my home country, if need be, is Costa Rica. Now, I'm not an American. I'm a Canadian, so, the tax laws on foreign income that apply to U.S. citizens does not apply to me. But it's kind of frustrating to see that many of the banks now are feeling the squeeze. And we're seeing even throughout the network internationally that a lot of banks are just turning away U.S. citizens if they're trying to open up a foreign bank account because, you know what? We don't want to go through all the compliance nightmares of the U.S. government and the IRS.
Agreed. As well as, I mean, you look at opening a bank account, as we talked about last time on the show, is you actually have to be a resident to open a bank account, a checking account here in Costa Rica. So it's becoming more and more difficult. And, again, as you said, it is a witch hunt.
And that's the thing because, I of course, fully advocate making sure that your stay and your time in Costa Rica is legitimate. I'm a resident myself. I'm currently now in Tramite for another residency status because it's the only way to be. If you want to live here on a long-term basis, yes, you need that residency. You need to fully comply with all of the tax laws and regulations. Be in the Caja, get your cedula. But the thing is now, I half agree that it's difficult for foreigners to come in on a tourist visa and open up a bank account. I think that should be the case. But at the same time, the level of transparency that's going to be written into legislation, on the other hand, I think is maybe going a little bit too far.
I agree with that as well, and I think it's becoming actually more and more difficult to become a resident in Costa Rica, with the amount of investment you have to accomplish, showing exactly how much income you have coming in, and the process itself takes a long period of time.
Well, especially in contrast to our neighbor in Panama, who has made the residency process incredibly simple because of their lack of skilled labor. But that's another country, another topic, another day. Why don't we move on, because this is getting depressing. we got the Jazz Sax Fest going on in San Jose, and I think this is hot. What's going on?
Well, for me, I'm a big music fan, and I know you are too, Corey. And I'm always into being able to share a little bit about what's going on in that sector of the entertainment industry, kind of in Costa Rica. And what they're doing is from Monday through next Saturday, there is going to be jazz. They actually call it the Sax Fest, but it's jazz, piano, a bunch of concerts coming in. They have almost one each day at the National Theater, as well as they've got classes at at UCR. And then I've got a list of these items on my website if you'll take a look at the article. But there's something for everyone each day. And I'm a big music fan. Going out there and seeing those musicians play is always something that sparks my interest.
You know, this is similar to the big guitar fest they do every year. I'm a guitar player myself, and I love these kinds of festivals where it's instrument focused. It's fantastic stuff.
I think you should do a segment on just you playing guitar and singing.
You know, I think that's a great idea. You know, This Week in Costa Rica. Less talk and more rock. Why don't we change the format up a little bit? Well, I'll tell you what, we got to run here into a break, but I appreciate your time today. If you guys want to find any of these great articles or all the things that Dan and I talk about each and every week, it's as easy as going over to the Costa Rican Times. That's Costa Rican with an N, of course. The link's on thisweekincostarica.com. Don Halbert, special guest, coming up next for the second half of this hour. Stick around, guys. You're listening to This Week in Costa Rica, only on the Overseas Radio Network.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
Sit back and relax. You are tuned into the Overseas Radio Network.
Worried about rising taxes, costly insurance, out-of-control healthcare, economic decline, staggering debt, mortgages, and retirement? It doesn't have to be this way. Escape to Ecuador, one of the most beautiful countries on the planet, and at EcuadorAtYourService.com, be your guide. Ecuador has been named the #1 retirement destination in the world 3 times in a row. So if you're searching for beaches, jungles, farmlands, cities, affordable healthcare, and a richer lifestyle at half the cost, contact EcuadorAtYourService.com.
This is 90 Seconds with Joel Nagel on the Overseas Radio Network.
I have over $10 million in assets I'd like to protect. Should I consider setting up a foreign family office?
A foreign family office is really a business approach to the management of wealth. And it integrates legal, tax, investment, advisory, insurance, all of the products that we talked about in many of the other 15 global strategies to protect your wealth are all brought together in a professional corporate setting where the management and growth of the wealth is the focus of the family office itself. So it's not focused on other things. It's just focused on managing, growing, stewarding wealth. That's what a family foundation is all about. There's 2 types. One, there's the individual foreign family office, which is just for you. You have all of those people that work to protect and preserve your business and financial interests. And then there's what's called a shared family office, where you can have multiple families. Usually it's not more than 3, 4, or 5 that all share the same staff just to get economies of scale. But the family office is definitely something that makes sense for people that go above the $10 million threshold.
For more information on the 15 global strategies to protect your wealth, visit nagellaw.com. That's NAGELLAW.com.
This is Kathleen Petticourt and Leif Simon with the Live and Invest Overseas Minute on the Overseas Radio Network. How would a move overseas affect your tax burden? The good news is that moving overseas as a retiree, earning only retirement income, should be a tax-neutral event. Any local tax obligation in the country where you relocate will depend on where and how your income while living there is derived, and foreign retirement income, Social Security income or pension income, for example, typically isn't taxed anywhere in the world.
Your tax situation can be more complicated, and it is possible that you could acquire a new tax burden in the country where you relocate if you have earned income or investment income in addition to your retirement income. That's why you need to seek experienced professional counsel on this before making your move. Once you've taken up residence in your new country, some options for mitigating and managing your tax burden could be taken off the table.
For more information on making the leap overseas, visit us online at liveandinvestoverseas.com.
Overseasradio.com, broadcasting from Panama to Paris and beyond.
Good. What? What is it? This week in Costa Rica. Fun, informative, and your questions answered. Talk live with one of our on-air experts and start living your dream now.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Spending a lovely Monday afternoon here. Sunny Paco Beach, Costa Rica. As we do every Monday from 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Moving along to my next guest here. Fellow Canadian down here in Costa Rica. I ran into this guy a couple weeks ago. I'm going to try and get through his bio. He is a certified inbound marketing professional educator. He's got a book out there. It's called Become a LinkedIn Lion Today. And wow, look what he's done. Contributing writer for the SOP, Newsblaze, Easy Articles, expert author, senior editor of Costa Rica news site, guest blog on many industry-leading SEO and internet marketing blogs. His work's been on MSNBC, CBS Money Watch, New York Times Online Edition, and Forbes, to name a few. Wow, to name a few. This guy's nuts. Let's move over to Don Halbert. How are you?
Good.
Is this really all you? Is that true?
Yeah, it is. It's all true.
Unbelievable. Why don't we start by maybe directing people to your website and who you are and what you do? Let's get into that.
All right. My name is, again, Don Halbert, and my website is donhalbert.com, DonHalbert. And I am, like you said there, a certified inbound marketing educator. So that means that as opposed to interruptive marketing, I'm polar opposite of that. I teach and promote inbound marketing, which is an attraction-based marketing. That means that you're providing useful content for people, and then at the very end, you kind of put a little tail note that says this material was brought to you by blah, blah, blah.
Interesting. Now, and the great part is that, Don, you're doing a lot of this here in Costa Rica as an expat, yeah?
Yes.
So this is the thing. Is a lot of our listeners are very keen to learn what are some of the opportunities that exist for those that want to expatriate from Canada or the U.S. or Europe, move to a place such as Costa Rica. And you carved out this opportunity. Did you bring this business from Canada, or did you start it up when you were here?
I brought my skills from Canada because I have a very colorful history with the digital satellite industry, and that's where I learned the majority of what I learned when it came to online marketing. So I brought that talent down with me. But for the most part, I've grown exponentially here in Costa Rica, yes.
So why don't we start at the beginning? Where exactly in Canada are you from?
Victoria, British Columbia, Canada.
Wow, beautiful place. Now, you'd think, and anyone would, you're living in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, arguably. What in the world would inspire you to leave there and come to Costa Rica?
Well, primarily it was keeping up with the Joneses, and I didn't like what I was turning into and what I was seeing around me, and everybody had to have the best car and the biggest and best house and the nicest clothes, and coming out of the industry, which I'm sure we're going to touch on in a bit here, with the satellite stuff that just blew up huge time. And then they put me on CNN, and I did an article with Wired Magazine. So the attention really, really grew very rapidly. And as a result, because I am a very hardcore diabetic, I ended up losing my eyesight. So when I got the operations and regained my eyesight back, I have diabetic retinopathy, which is a hemorrhaging of the eyes, so they bleed inside. So I look normal from the outside, but inside it's like looking through a muddy glass of water.
Wow.
And when I got my eyesight back, I just said, you know what? I've done well enough for myself that I can afford to move away to Costa Rica and buy a house. And that's what I did. I thought, I think I'm going to try something different, little more laid back lifestyle.
So it sounds like, I mean, you had a personal experience that kind of shook you up a bit, and you said, and you reevaluated, what's important to you in your life, what matters to you, and what doesn't matter to you, moreover.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, this happens to a lot of people, when you get that sort of shift in your life where you say, look, I need something that is on purpose. I need something that's going to be relevant to me, something that is going to make a difference in my life, Did you feel that Costa Rica offered you that opportunity more than Canada did at the time?
Well, to be honest, it was a choice I wanted to make between Mexico down near the Belize border and the Yucatan Peninsula, because I had been there. I visited there, I think, 5 times in a 15-month period. I really liked Mexico. And Costa Rica. And I knew some people, a couple older women that had moved here from my hometown where I was born, which is Prince George, British Columbia. And when I came here, the first night I spent here and the jungle came alive. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So, but a lot of your listeners might not quite realize it. But when you're spending your first night in the jungle where there's no insulation, there's no windows, just screens over top of where windows would normally be, you're pretty much at the mercy of the jungle, and the jungle comes alive at night. And that really kind of, I know I'm a grown man, but it did frighten me. I'm like, holy cow, this is making me a little nervous.
Hey, there's jaguars and snakes and
exactly.
spiders. There's real stuff out there.
Yeah, so I woke up the next morning and I said, you know what? I said to my wife, I don't think this is for me.
Oh, interesting.
And it changed. I got a little bit of peer pressure and ended up picking up a house for her, and that's how it came to be. And I ended up basically doing it for her. But now I don't regret anything in my life, because I believe firmly that if certain things hadn't happened in my life, then I wouldn't be where I am today, and I'm very happy today.
Well, that's always the case, is that, not to get all corny, but, every dark cloud has that silver lining. There's always, blue sky behind a storm. And we often find that with a lot of the people we bring on the program, they have a very similar story to tell. That they said, something almost horrific happened to me, and as a result of it, something great came out of it,
Yeah, and I guess this would come across as maybe a little bit of advice for your listeners too, but I'm sure you've heard this before. Actually, in fact, I know you have. You've been here long enough. You know that there is the vast majority of expats, and I might get in trouble for saying this, but it is my experience, that they move here because they're running away from something. They've either done something back home that they're getting away from, or something's happened that's brought them here to Costa Rica, whether it's good or bad. But my experience seems to be that there are a lot of foreigners. When you come to Costa Rica, the best advice I could give anybody would be is to, just because they speak English, or they might even be from the same hometown that you're from, doesn't mean you should trust them.
Sure.
Because, you could be back home in Canada or the United States or wherever you're from, and just because a guy walks up to you in the library or downtown or something and wants to be your friend doesn't mean you're going to befriend the guy, right?
Well, that's the point. I mean, you and I have spoke briefly a couple of times, but honestly, Don, you and I don't know each other from Adam.
Nope.
And it could be very quick. We could become fast friends, and say, yeah, I trust this guy. He's a Canadian. We speak the same language. We know each other pretty well. And the next thing you know, you're getting yourself in bed with somebody who could be just, a pretty scammy guy.
Yeah, I got the big Canadian scam before I was even off the plane. I had bought a car here, sight unseen, and it turns out after I got off the plane and actually got into Costa Rica, I found out quickly, because I was almost going, I had many people back in Canada, lawyers and stuff, with the industry that I was in, again, the satellite stuff. Many people used to tell me, why don't you go and be a private investigator, but a digital one that specializes in online investigations, because I have a knack for being able to find out almost anything about anybody, probably even more so than they know about themselves.
Okay, now I'm nervous. Go on.
So anyway, this guy gave me a reason, and my history is in hacking. So that hacking, again, with the digital investigation side of stuff, I decided to get to know who this guy was that took me for a bit of a ride. And Yeah, it was an interesting experience. Again, he was wanted in Saskatchewan back home and has warrants out for his arrest. And it's one of, I think, probably a handful. There's been about a half a dozen experiences like that where somebody's given me a reason to get to know who they are, and I get to know who they are, and now I know what that weird feeling in my stomach was telling me about that person.
Well, it's funny, Don, because I know a lot of people on the program, they come on and they say, look, I don't really want to say this, but there's a lot of scamsters down here in Costa Rica. But, it's valuable and critical that we do say this. We're coming up on a break here, but if you don't mind, I'd like to carry on this conversation because one of the things we do mention a lot, not only in this program, but on the Overseas Radio Network on the whole, is that there's sort of a push-pull effect here to a lot of the expats. Those that feel like they're being pushed out of their country, or those that feel like they're being pulled towards something in a new country. So that's something I'd love to get back into with you if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, we got to run into a break here. We're talking to Don Halbert right now, donhalbert.com. Of course, you can go over to This Week in Costa Rica, and I will have links in the show notes over there. You're going to find links to everything that I talk about today and a whole bunch more, including the number 888-741-7472 is the toll-free number if you want to call in today and chime in on any of these conversations. I might pick it up. I might even talk to you. No promises, though. Stick around, guys. This is This Week in Costa Rica, only on the Overseas Radio Network.
So you want to jump out your trick bag and ease on into hip bag, but you ain't just exactly sure what's hip.
OverseasRadio.com, broadcasting from Panama to Paris and beyond.
Georgetown Global Metals is a division of Georgetown Trust, Ltd., an international financial services company headquartered in Belize with offices in Zurich, Switzerland, and Panama City, Panama. Georgetown Global Metals is a leader in the physical acquisition and storage of metals worldwide. The company utilizes the best and most state-of-the-art facilities in Switzerland, Germany, Singapore, and Panama to store metals inside or outside the customs borders of the countries in which we maintain storage facilities. Georgetown can also acquire and store virtually any strategic, industrial, or defense-oriented metal for our clients. Most metals can also be fully insured throughout the delivery and storage process with Lloyd's of London. For a free, no-obligation quote on any precious or other metals, acquisition, or storage, please contact Louis Eck at georgetown@btl.net. Mention you heard about Georgetown Global Metals on ORN and receive 1 month storage absolutely free. Again, that is georgetown@btl.net or telephone International Country Code Belize +501 226 3569.
Establish your business in one of the most extraordinary cities in the world. Connect to a market of over 1.8 billion people from Dubai. Over 1,400 companies from around the world have made Dubai Airport Free Zone their Middle East and Africa headquarters. Dubai Airport Free Zone was rated one of the top free zones in the world. Let us help you set up your operations at Dubai Airport Free Zone and expand your market and sales in Asia and Africa. Call us at 214-537-9665 or send us an email at info@dafz-usa.com. That's info@dafz-usa.com.
Your perfect child has just been diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, a disease that leaves so many children subject to 30 insulin shots per day. This disease is caused by antibodies that attack insulin-producing pancreatic cells. Did you know that you can stop these antibodies in disease with an immunotherapy which uses the patient's own cells? We're here to answer your questions and to educate you on a non-invasive stem cell procedure using stem cells from the patient's own body. Get your questions answered by Dr. Alejandro Maesplace, whose research on stem cell therapy for diabetes is published in medical journals and applauded by medical professionals and professors at the University of Padua in Italy and Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. Treatment by Dr. Alejandro is the best choice of caring parents who prefer not to subject their child to any unnecessary risks or the negative side effects of chemical treatments like chemotherapy. Learn more at stemcellsjourney.com or call 888-963-9178. Also available on Skype, name @Messplace.
Sit back and relax. You are tuned into the Overseas Radio Network.
You know what I just heard? What? Costa Rica has the reputation of being the happiest country on earth. But it gets better. This Week in Costa Rica brings you the best information. The best. From the people who understand why so many choose to call this beautiful place home. Bringing you the latest information from expats, experts, and people just like you who chose to escape, retire, and live in Costa Rica. This Week in Costa Rica. Pura Vida.
Welcome back to This Week in Costa Rica. Thanks for sticking around, guys. Appreciate you. Continuing our conversation today with Don Halbert, certified inbound marketing professional educator. Going to link all the stuff that he does over on my website, of course, which is thisweekincostarica.com. Before the break there, Don and I were talking a little bit about what we like to call the push-pull effect, or at least I do. That effect that we find in a lot of expatriates around the world, and in Costa Rica, I find especially. Individuals who feel like they've been sort of pushed out of the country because for whatever reason. And that push could also be that runner, all right? There are those that are, they say this in Alaska, I think, Don. There are those that are running from something and those that are running towards something. And that's our experience here in Costa Rica generally, right?
Yep.
Something to watch out for is that you make a good point. It's very easy when you move to a foreign country, you get involved in the foreign culture, and you immediately gravitate to your own kind. You know, when you meet a fellow Canadian who speaks the language, you can talk about hockey. I mean, it's like, I can buddy up with this guy. The next thing you know, you're getting yourself into some sticky business with the individual if you're not careful.
Yeah, it really opens you up and makes you an easy target for some of these guys that are less than honest. And it's just my experience, and I really tell each and every individual that I come across that are thinking about coming down here is just be careful and don't for even that goes for the Ticos too. You don't want to go to a Tico lawyer just because he speaks English.
Right. You got it.
I mean, there's a lot of them that I've met, and I've been through a lot, and now I finally found the best in the country. But before, I'm going through these lawyers, and my experience, to be completely honest, is they learn English for that purpose, so that they can get in with the foreigners and take you for a bit of a ride.
Yeah, I've gone through the same thing until I finally found a law firm that I'm really, really comfortable with. And otherwise, I mean, it's been a lot of, slick lawyers who speak English very well, but if you open up the briefcase, it's like it's a box of crackers in there. These guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I mean, he's talking to you and a bone falls out of his mouth or something.
Sure. All right, so, I mean, the point that I guess we're getting at here is that it's the same with a lot of the expats, is that, just be careful how familiar you get with some individuals. And it's not to say that Costa Rica is wrought with a lot of expats running from things. But there are individuals down here who were unable to make successes of their ideas or industries back in their home countries and said, all I'm going to do is transplant it to a bunch of suckers in Costa Rica and make it fly there. The unfortunate thing is, in the expat community, there tend to be a few more suckers.
Again, yeah, I agree, because we tend to migrate, like you said, to people that speak the same language as us or happen to be from the same state or the same country, what have you. But that's not a reason to buddy up with somebody.
Common sense applies. I mean, that's really the key. I have a friend here in Jaco, and he said it best, because we were looking at the tropical bungee, where you've got this scaffolding set up, climb up this thing, attach an elastic to your ankle, and jump off this. And it's interesting because, back in Canada or the United States or what have you, you couldn't get me up on that thing. However, as soon as I moved to Costa Rica, the first thing went through my mind is, I'm going to get on that scaffolding and jump off that. What happens to people's brains when they get into a foreign country and they say,
I find it hilarious you'd bring that up. So it's no secret my business is marketing. So I appreciate good marketing, and I get a real good laugh out of the unusual marketing. And one of them happens to be that bungee jump outside of Jaco.
Right.
It's now changed because I was just up there and I didn't see it anymore. But it used to be this age-old, it is a good marketing scheme where you've got a series of signs going down the road, like you're almost here, you're 10 meters away, you're 5 meters away, blah, blah, blah.
Right, you got it, yeah.
And what I saw there for the bungee was it went like the number 8,
mm-hmm.
and then number 7, number 6, number 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, until it got to the turn for the bungee. But coincidentally, the turn for the bungee is also the turn for the cemetery. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to get it. But somehow I got to get these in frame to get this photograph of all these signs and series that end with a bungee sign at the graveyard.
Right.
I mean, whoever thought of that marketing. Oh man.
Yeah.
That was comical.
Interesting. But I mean, I guess, to finish the point, it's really, a friend of mine up in Belize, she says it perfectly. She said, don't check your brain at the border. And that's kind of the thing is when you leave Canada or the U.S., you've got that common sense. You're smart enough to know the scam when you run into it. Keep that common sense intact when you get here.
Yeah, exactly. And just, go with your gut feeling. I mean, if it wouldn't associate with people like that back home, then just because they speak English doesn't mean you should associate with them here.
Sure. Now, to move on to another topic here, it's interesting because you live and you operate in Costa Rica. Because obviously it sounds like you've found a lifestyle that you enjoy, and I am super protective of my lifestyle as well, and love living and working in this country. But there was actually a great Business Insider article that was a little bit scathing about Costa Rica recently, and it leads me to the question that you keep your business based in Victoria and not in Costa Rica. Why is that exactly?
One word: bureaucracy.
Right. Okay. You want to expand on that a bit?
Yeah, it's. Every day, you pick up any newspaper. Well, nowadays it's all online, but you look at any Costa Rica news website or what have you, and they're constantly doing stories about new creative laws that this government is coming up with. And I could actually get in trouble for even talking badly about the government here now. You know that. That's
true. There's a new law, and I think it was a knee-jerk reaction to the WikiLeaks scandal, right? Where now there's a law on the books in Costa Rica that says you can be prosecuted for exposing anything the government does. Am I reading this right?
Yeah, it's basically referred to as the gag law.
It's absurd.
Yeah, and as a result, the infamous hackers Anonymous have decided to target the Costa Rican government websites now as a result of that law.
Oh, okay. Now they took down like the Ministry of Education for a while, that sort of thing, right?
Yep, and I think it's fantastic.
I would agree with you because I think, obviously we're seeing a lot of left-leaning liberals here in Costa Rica that are putting into place and pushing through some pretty dangerous legislation. This one being a great one as an example.
Yeah, and the article in Business Insider was really good, and it talked about the silver lining like you had said earlier, and that is, once this government's run its course, hopefully the next one that they elect in will be pro-business and more in tune with, because right now they're just struggling. They bought their way in, or however you want to put it. That's how Business Insider. So don't shoot the messenger here.
Sure.
But Business Insider put it as the current administration bought their way in and then couldn't fulfill any of the promises, and now they're selling out. They're passing all kinds of laws, and the one in particular they talked about was the luxury tax that is attached to any property and house exceeding $220,000.
Right.
$220 or $230. And at the same time as they passed the law, they increased something to do with construction by 75%. So essentially, almost any foreigner that buys a place here is going to fall into this category, not just luxury, quote unquote, right?
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, luxury for maybe a Costa Rican, for sure. But luxury by North American standards, no way.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm down here in Pérez Celedón, it's called, or some people refer to it as San Isidro. And there's a lot of Costa Ricans here that are selling their properties and houses, and they're nice, and it's not that hard to get to 200,000.
No. And the argument could be made, and we've brought this up on the program here before, is that if they were able to properly collect the taxes that are due, this luxury tax wouldn't need to be put in place in the first place.
Well, exactly. But what the Business Insider article touched on, again, don't shoot the messenger, I'm just repeating what I read, is that the likelihood is very high that the government is collecting this luxury tax that was supposed to be reserved for the shanty towns and trying to clean up that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like they say, the likelihood is very high that this government has just been dipping their fingers into that thing since day one.
They need the money. I mean, this is analogous to the Obama administration right now. These guys are leaving no stone unturned. They're going everywhere and finding every colony, every dollar they possibly can. And they're using it for their own means. It's got nothing to do with putting it towards the improvement of poor housing. It's got everything to do with funding their monstrous government.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So at the end of the day, you have, and we don't have a lot of time here left on, but I mean, you've got your business up in Victoria. And I agree with you on a number of levels, and I know many people that do, because Costa Rica is not the most inviting of Latin American countries to foreign businesses and to business in general.
It's changing. It's improving. And there is light at the end of the tunnel that in the next administration, this could change. Like, for example, if Johnny Araya gets in as president in the next election, there are a lot of people that are big business people, and I deal with them on a daily basis because they're my clients, that say that will be the turning point for this country as far as doing business in Costa Rica.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. I'd love to bring you back on the show again if you're interested, Don, because I think we got a lot in common and a lot to talk about, and I can scam you into a bunch of good things. What do you think?
Sure, no problem.
All right, if we want to direct people to your site or to your work, where should they go?
Well, you can go to donhalbert.com, and if you'd be so kind as to give me an opportunity, I'd like to drop a little plug there for some of my clients.
Yep, go for it.
I'm also Chief Marketing Officer with the #1 real estate website in the country, CostaRicaRealEstate.com. And I also work with Vacations Costa Rica, which is the top vacations facilitator in the company at VacationsCostaRica.com. And I am currently working with the Green Teak brand of hotels, which consists of C Como No and Manuel Antonio, which you can visit at ccomono.com, and Aguila de Osa, which is a fantastic eco resort in the Osa Peninsula, and their domain is aguiladeosa.com.
Thanks so much, Don. Great having you on. Super conversation. Really interesting stuff. We got to run here, guys. 5 minutes of news. We're going to be right back for the second half of this program. 888-741-7472 if you want to call in and chime in on this conversation. You're listening to This Week in Costa Rica only on the Overseas Radio Network.